First thing associated with Manchester in music, going to watch the UK subs at the Polytechnic. I think someone broke my nose, I seem to remember, and a bouncer turned me upside down and shook me. So my chains dropped out, my spens, you know. But it's brilliant. I mean, you know, that's a great introduction to music, isn't it?
Pretty girls, pretty boys, have you ever heard your mommy say, noise and noise? Pretty girls, pretty boys, have you ever heard your mommy say, noise and noise? Pretty girls, pretty boys, have you ever heard your mommy shout, noise and noise?
There always was an amazing scene going on in Manchester in the 60s and the 70s, so you know, we just sort of started in the early 80s and carried it on a bit. I mean, we was really lucky. I mean, you know, we did what any kid did, really. We started, you know, back in the day, it was either football or a band or crime, you know, so we started a band.
The Manchester itself has changed beyond all recognition. When Joy Division and ACR was starting out, it was really kind of a dismal, quite bleak place, sort of just recovering not very successfully from the Second World War. It was loads of bomb sites. That kind of came out in the music, I think, that we were making.
In the 70s, it was a very grimy, dirty, grey, neglected city. It was all about London, it was London-centric. We became creatives. I'm biased, but I think it's the most creative city in the country.
When all that Manchester stuff was going on, I was off doing Screamadelica and Give Out But Don't Give Up. You can see it in people that come to the city just to enjoy Manchester, you know, music made in Manchester. It's massive. It's just the heart and the soul of it is just, I think it's second to none.
Fast forward to today, the scene never goes away. It's just that the spotlight is coming back. There's a lot of rejuvenation, regeneration. There's money around. It makes for a better scene. Venues are up to date, desks are up to date, people are bringing their own techs, there's lighting involved, there's a consideration. Not that there wasn't back in the day, but I think it's utilising a lot more production.
Stick with me, stick with me.
Everybody's giving it 1000%.
You know that no one will ever replace us. You're down to it, but I never did. No one will ever replace us. We were the best team that ever lived.
Now, as you can imagine, this is quite surreal for us five, because we grew up just over there.
We're at Stockport County, day 4 of the build. So it's the second day of the stage build, and currently we've got about 100 people working on show days with all the production team, the band, the artist team. Will be up to around 200 people. The run up to it on show day is probably the most stressful part. You've done all the planning, and then the few hours before, making sure the last minute preparations are in place. the band comes on and all the cheering, you know, you get the chills. Actually makes it all worth it.
I was doing sound engineering in a small Stockport venue called Blue Cat Cafe, and they booked 4 shows in 2 months, so it was like every 2 weeks they were playing, every show sold out. It was kind of obvious that they were going to do well because they had everything together, and they had this image of, they were all wearing black polo necks, and they all had a key around the neck, so they had this image. They've not changed, there's no egos or anything like that, so it's dead nice because they are just normal lads, and when they're not, they still get on the bus, like into town and stuff like that. Tom wrote in his mum's back room, correct, but he doesn't now. He's got his own back room after the success of the first album.
For like the first album songs and the songs before that, I wrote all my songs in a back room at my mum and dad's house, which was kind of just because that's where, I don't know, just had a vibe. I'm not thinking about anything else. You know, like you say, you got anything else on your mind, you're worrying about stuff. It's just literally just there in that kind of moment, so to speak. Probably when I'm at my happiest.
It's one of them gigs where it's not just about the gig, it's about everyone coming together for stuff.
Yeah, all the streets will be filled with our fans singing the tunes. You'd hope anyway.
I always walk them from the dressing room to the stage. It's always exciting because you see them walk onto it and the noise builds, and when the lights go down and there's like everyone whoops a bit, and then you see them walk on and you see the crowd go mental.
So close to Manchester, it is Greater Manchester, and so we are a Manchester band really, and we've definitely been taken in by the fan base of all them other bands. You know what I mean? Like the fact we're playing to this many people here in our hometown is based, I think, partly because of that kind of hardcore fans that you get from coming from this area.
To come to Edgeley Park and do 15,000 is just a nice kind of ladder up, yeah, it's exciting. Don't know where's next, but yeah, have to find a bigger stadium, get an extension put on.
So if you go, I will know by the way my shower made.
Manchester's quite interesting culturally because you've got the amazing institutions of the Halle Orchestra, Manchester Camerata and the BBC Philharmonic, so there's a real sort of grounding of classical music history here. There, of course, there is this incredible heritage of the club scene and a particular sound, and I feel like our work with Manchester Collective is opening up a new way of listening to classical music, which almost feels more connected to that the kind of club poppy scene than it does necessarily the classical scene. We've sort of blown apart the traditional concert format. People can have drinks, they can chat to us, we leave stuff on stage, and we're trying to just kind of open it out. And it has been heartwarming to realise that this music, which maybe some people would have thought is stuffy or out of their reach, they actually come to our concerts and they really get something from it, they really feel something. And that is our mission, basically, is to sort of let it speak for itself and we believe that it can speak to everyone and anyone.
My impression almost immediately upon arriving in Manchester was that it was a city that was in the process of kind of phenomenal change, and it feels like in the last kind of 8 years that I've been here that it has sort of transformed and twisted and turned, and it's still kind of developing all the time. Very soon after arriving, it kind of became apparent to me that it was a city with this sort of phenomenal musical heritage. So, I mean, for a city that is actually quite small in population, we've always punched so far above our weight. It's sort of amazing, and to be part of that musical scene where it feels like there's such a density of incredible artists working together has been really exciting. And so I guess when I moved here, I thought that I'd do my time in my masters and then, you know, move to London or move to the States or move to Europe. And actually, I've never once felt like it was time to move on, because there's just kind of I guess a never-ending supply of really kind of stimulating musical activity going on here.
I needed so much more.
Can I swear?
You can swear.
Okay. Okay. Music with everything. Oh, I fucked it up. As a kid, music was everything to me. I clung to it desperately. I went through a horrible time at school, and my kind of salvation was to be able to go home and listen to the music. And then Kurt Cobain came along with Nirvana. And influenced me massively on his way of thinking. A very sensitive person who, you know, was, even though he was the underdog, he was always looking for somebody who was more of an underdog than him. And eventually, Morrissey, who put it all together in such a poetic and funny way, and everything that I was feeling about myself as a teenager growing up, it was like there was somebody there who'd been through the same and felt the same, and was just saying, you know, you're not alone. And that, you know, that just summed everything up to me. It was always about escapism, that seeking oblivion. As soon as I had the chance, I started experimenting with drugs. I was taking acid and E's when I was 13. Eventually I was drinking very heavily. I had a detox when I was 18 at the hospital, and then I went on to heroin and crack. And which, you know, and that goes along with a lot of the songs I was listening to at the time, and a lot of people that were writing those songs. With the lyrics of Joy Division and Ian Curtis and Morrissey, that's what I was attracted to, these people that couldn't find the way in the world, and they were kind of seeking something outside themselves. Photography was everything for me when I came out of, when I finally got clean, because I had nothing in my life. I needed something, like Morrissey said, going back to that, I need something to cling to. That was the only thing I could cling to previously, smoking. So then I had photography, and I finally found something that I actually enjoyed and could carry me on. My one arrow was to go into music photography. I always wanted to, you know, be a part of that music, and, you know, I felt that music, and I wanted to express what I felt through the music. Today I'm doing a video for a band called Pagans, which are a Birmingham band. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with it, because this is kind of the first video I've done.
We're shooting a music video, like for our second single. Paul Husband's videoing it for us and directing it. We've got loads of people like coming down as well, so it'd be a part.
A lot of cameos.
Yeah.
The first day of filming we had loads of fun with it. This day we've got people like Sean Ryder and Pete Turner from Elbow coming down to kind of be extras. Just sit up a bit, Sean. Got a load of my mates to come and be extras in the pub, and it's going to be grotesque but in a lovely way.
They're all my mates in there, and we're just helping out and supporting with the Pagans new video. We're really behind this band, they're fantastic, and we feel they're going places, but we all wanted to join in and help them on their way.
It means the world to me to be able to experience that, because well, you meet Shaun Ryder and he's just an every person. You meet guys from Elbow or whoever, but they've given the world so much. You know, they fill up people's hearts and they allow people to understand their own experiences, and that's a real pleasure. It's an honour.
You are my world. You can always take inspiration from different past generations, but we're here to create our own legacy within the city, do our own thing. Do you know what I mean? We can take little bits from what has been, you know, the Manchester scene, but it's kind of, we want to tip like a more cultural approach to it, and you know, like for me, it's just about doing something completely different that Manchester's not done before. So it's more than just music. It's like a show that you're going into. We work with like different. We find new spaces. We base like an arts concept. Work with different artists. We do projections. They bring in bespoke pieces of architecture and whatnot, and it's more of a show that we're putting on. So it's not just about the music. It's this whole experience that we're creating. So for example, you could go to a normal club night and see the same DJ that you've seen 10 times over, or you could come to this place that there's never ever been a party previously, you've never been there, and you can come and experience this whole live show which is intertwined in the music, the sound and art.
It's great, you know, you don't get closed down halfway through the night, your head kicked in and all your gear took off you, do you?
Yeah. The love of music always has and always will be within the city. We're just born into it, really. There's that history that we're going to keep evolving.
And then you're going to wake up when you're 40 with post-traumatic stress disorder.
And after.
The gigs, it's a great opportunity for us as a band, but also it is just nice to be able to take part in something for such a good cause as well,
definitely.
and be a part of something that Manchester coming together for.
It was really heartbreaking to see some people, you know, to talk to them, to hear the stories, because, you know, the most sometimes you can give is your time, and I find it always, you know, I try and do my bit, and I think all of us do as well, but we all feel that, you know, a lot more needs to be done.
When I said that I wanted to do something about homelessness, people started to contact me and said, well, what can we do? And the end result is this amazing event tonight. So, you know, it's the kind of place this is, isn't it? We saw the football world come forward behind Vincent Kompany. The music world comes forward now behind Raise the Roof. The two big forces of Manchester, football and music, right behind the campaign to end homelessness. Couldn't be better than that.
We're all over the moon, like excitement, because it's such an amazing opportunity. But I think definitely coming into it.
Yeah, I feel like I'll be all right until about 20 minutes beforehand, and then I'll just have a meltdown, and I'll be like, no, I can't do it.
You know, after the first sort of round of applause, I know it sounds a bit silly, but you know that they like it, so you're like, oh, they'll like the next one even better. So
you've not been booed off or anything.
Okay.
It's not that.
Yeah, let's hope that doesn't happen at a charity gig and get booed off.
Cause there's not much they can say to you.
I try not to write lyrics that are just about you know, obviously everyone loves a good love song, but I don't really want to write all my songs about like relationships and love and just things that people always write about, because I think that
Done before.
it's been done before by every band, and obviously, you know, we've got a few that obviously lean that way, but in general I try to make that a bit different. Like one of I think our best songs is called Dysphoria, and I wrote that about me being trans, and it's got a lot of, you know, that in it. That's what it's about. And trying to put that across about like trans rights and like trans activism, because there's not really any other band that are doing that, so it's really important. Yeah, like every time the next big thing comes, it's such an amazing feeling.
Every time after we've done a big gig, I'm always like, guys, we've got to make it. We're going to make it.
We just hope it's going to keep sort of growing at the rate it has.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we all do want to make it, and we all do want to be able to have this as a full-time career, especially.
From Manchester to London tonight. Yeah. Saluting all the drum and bass family from way, way back to the present. Digital Soundboy, this one's for you.
My dad was around music, you know, I was brought up around a lot of musical people, but I ended up being a musician, and I think in Manchester it was very easy for me to access that, and drum and bass, being from a musical household, was that first time I had something. Like my dad had the rock and my sister had the hip hop, my mum had Joni Mitchell, and I had drum and bass. So from there, you know, back in the day, like the Northern Quarter and Oldham Street used to just be like every other bar was like a different setup and a different performance. So I kind of moved through it like that. I came very much like through the underground. I think it's definitely today, the difference is you don't need 20 people around you to make a show happen. With technology, they don't need a record deal, they don't need a distributor, they don't need to have the meetings with the right people in London. It just bypass all that, and the talent is what speaks for itself. There's a lot of artists like that from Manchester who they just do it themselves. They just do it themselves.
It was just like, there's so much competition, there's so many people that want to get what you want. It's like, it's a bit like all guns blazing. Like, you love them all, and you really hope they all get it. Record labels aren't like, we'll sign 10 artists that sound the same now, and one of them will come out of it. It's like, we have to get the one that's right, and I think you do have to master your craft, because if you don't, then someone else is going to do it for you.
If you are a band from Manchester, which we practically are, it comes with like a level of expectation because of our ancestors musically. And bizarrely, because we're from like a little town on the outskirts of Manchester, there are some of the most amazing musicians you have ever met, and it is weird. Like, you go to like central London and I've seen the level of the people around our way. The musicians are just, they're wiping the floor with them, and I think that's because they didn't really have much else to focus on, and all these people didn't really do very well academically, but they threw themselves into their instruments, and it really made a big difference.
Give you strength so life will never break you.
It's all about collectives and working together and people featuring on each other's tracks. There's a lot of collaboration going on across genres. Manchester's a lot more accessible, a lot more collective, and more of a collective culture to music. Everyone is working on the same shows and sharing gigs, and I wouldn't have got this same journey if I was in London, I don't think. I probably would have given up. Might have been too hard. Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
No matter what situation.
The thing that blew my mind is that people go to gigs and pay for gigs even if they don't know who's playing, which in Italy is impossible. First, we don't have a scene anymore, and second is like people that pay like €2 to go to a gig. Oh no, I don't know them. I don't know the band, so I'm not spending €2. And it's mad. And when I came here, I was like, it's amazing, because the support of, you know, normal people is great.
We all know that right now, music is going through a massive change in terms of the revenue that comes in from music. There's not enough being made from royalty play anymore because streaming has completely took over. So touring is where it's at. New artists in Manchester know that spending money on people that shouldn't be on a tour it's a waste of time, really. And if there's less of you on stage, there's more money in your pocket. I mean, Ed Sheeran even knows that, doesn't he?
So, independent venues in Manchester. I mean, Manchester's got more grassroots music venues than it's ever had, because not only have there been bespoke venues open over the past 10-15 years, we've added to the volume of venues we've got. But also people are starting to put shows on in other spaces. So pubs have become venues and churches have become venues, and people have done venues in galleries and rooftops and caves and little pop-up things in foodie places. And so I think it feels like, again, I can't really speak for anybody else's venue, but it feels like the state of live music in Manchester is in rare form. We've got ginormous venues, we've got bigger venues than we've ever had, we've also got more intimate venues than we've ever had.
That amount of music in the city, it's that stuff that helps influence people the same way that we were influenced by the factory nights and Pips, and that still has to happen now to make the scene stay there and be good, you know. So it's about the people in Manchester making the music happen, and it doesn't have to come from Manchester, it just has to happen in Manchester, you know, and that's important. And all the good venues like Albert Hall, Gorilla, Yes, are all doing really good things.
I think for me, I think we're all kind of free-spirited. I don't think we take ourselves too seriously. It's the fabric of being rejected and things like that. And I don't know, I have many people asking me, why have we got so many fantastic musicians in Manchester? And I just say, it's the water. It's got to be the water, because you can't pinpoint it really. If you think of the history of Manchester and all the amazing bands, I just don't know. I'm just excited about the new stuff coming forward, really.
I mean, the only thing is about Manchester is that every fucker wants to be a DJ, or everyone wants to be a music producer or in a band, you know, everybody. I mean, I used to have trouble with roadies, you know, because it was all fucking producers or managers. You know what I mean? I'm not fucking humping amps.
I get asked a lot about why music is so ingrained in our city, and I think anywhere you go in the world, people say to you, when you say from Manchester, they are going to mention Manchester United, sadly Manchester City maybe, but most definitely the music. That is what this city is all about.
We know loads of bands who say they're from Manchester and they're not. Do you know what I mean? But it's not a bone of contention. It's not anything, because why wouldn't you?
You don't have to be from Manchester to be from Manchester. A lot of the artists that we were looking at, they are from Manchester but not originally. There's so much talent in this city that is ingrained in all of the different communities that we have around Greater Manchester, and that's been a really fascinating insight actually.
So Manchester's music scene in 2020 is more diverse than it's ever been. Yes, there were still some rock and roll bands where it's 4 young white men with guitars, but we have an amazing hip-hop scene, we have an amazing urban scene, we have an amazing world music scene, we see electronica, we see rock. I mean, every bit of it is bouncing around the city centre. I don't think there's any defining scene. A lot of the people I know and work with are in bands. All those bands are very different from one another, and sometimes they play on the same bills as one another. It's incredibly diverse at the moment, and that's the best thing about it.
I think you'll find most people who are from Manchester, majority, they feel part of Europe, they feel part of the world, you know, and I think that's Mancunians are unique in that they are very proud of their city and they're proud of being Northerners, but they're also part of a much bigger picture, a much more diverse community, and they've always been. I think what makes us work musically and creatively is the fact that we are like that, and we're outward looking as well as inward looking.
The coronavirus is the biggest threat this country has faced for decades, and this country is not alone.
How dare the Premier?
From this evening, I must give the British people a very simple instruction. You must stay at home.
I think that initial press conference where the government advised people not to go to bars and restaurants and clubs, and the word there is advise, that decimated the nighttime economy, and literally like that.
I haven't dreamed of you and I and marriage.
The help from central government, though welcome, business rates relief, the offer of bounce back loans, furloughed wages payments, isn't enough to keep these venues mothballed indefinitely. And so anything we can do to raise funds for these venues is going to help them reopen at all.
The culture of a city is its beating heart, it's its pulse and its lifeline. So I think it's really important that we rally round and support all of the artists in our city, in our community, further afield if we can.
How can I help people stay home, entertain people at the same time, but also try and raise money for a lot of those people who, especially the grassroots venues, the smaller independent places. So the first thing I did was I picked up the phone to our mayor, Andy Burnham, and said, look, Andy, I've got this idea. I think we can generate some decent cash out of this, keep people home. And I explained the idea, and before he even finished, he was like, what do you need? And I think like everybody, we were all in shock, but 1.4 million people, tuned into that. How many people were looking at the screen of those 1.4? We don't know. It was probably nearer to 3 to 4 million people that watched it. And we'll adapt and we'll change, because we are a 24-hour party city in the UK, and nothing's going to stop us. That's one thing that is absolutely sure.
Kind of kiss that wouldn't wake a baby on the self-same face, that wouldn't let me sleep. And the streets is singing with my feet, and dawn gives me a shadow I know to be taller, all down to you, dear. Everything has changed. My sorry name has made it to graffiti.